Hey everyone, welcome back to Timeless Voices, where we slice deep into the best and worst of horror. Today we're talking about the movie that had everyone buzzing before release, Psycho Killer 2026. Written by the legend behind Say 7 Andrew Kevin Walker, directed by Gavin Polwan, and starring Georgina Campbell as a pregnant widow turned vigilante. It dropped in February 2026, promised to blend gritty police procedural with extreme R-rated gore, and, well, it landed with a thud. Critics and audiences largely panned it. But does it deserve the hate? Today we're doing a full side-by-side comparison with the all-time great Psycho Killer classics. We'll break down the plot, the biggest flaws, and exactly how it stacks up against Psycho, Halloween, Say 7 The Silence of the Lambs, and even newer entries like Longlegs. Spoilers ahead, you've been warned. Let's dive in. The film opens on a frozen Kansas highway. A highway patrol officer is slaughtered in a shocking, visceral scene. His wife, Jane Archer, Georgina Campbell, also a patrol officer and very pregnant, watches it happen. Instead of waiting for the system, Jane goes full revenge mode. She chases the killer cross-country as he leaves a trail of occult symbol-covered bodies. The villain? The Satanic slasher, a massive, physically intimidating brute played by former wrestler James Preston Rogers. He's not just killing for fun. He's building toward an insane finale, breaking into a derelict nuclear power plant to trigger a meltdown and literally open the gates of hell. Jane's pregnant, outgunned, and racing against time in a bleak road trip from hell showdown. Malcolm McDowell shows up as Mr. Pendleton, the leader of a satanic cult mansion that the killer uses as a pit stop. Runtime, 92 minutes. Budget, $10 million. Box office, at the disappointing $2.56 million so far. Now let's get to the good stuff, the full comparison. I turned the key categories into a head-to-head battle. Here's how the new kid on the block measures up. Think Laurie Strode in Halloween, a brave but ordinary teen. Or Clarice Starling in Silence of the Lambs, smart, vulnerable, but backed by the FBI. Even Detective Somerset in Say 7 is a jaded pro with backup. Psycho Killer 2026 Jane Archer is a trained highway patrol officer and pregnant. That adds real physical stakes and tension. She's not just hunting. She's doing it while dealing with exhaustion, hormones, and the fact that she's carrying her dead husband's child. Georgina Campbell gives it everything she has, but the script gives her almost nothing to work with. She's defined by trauma and revenge. No deeper internal life, no real growth. It's a wasted opportunity for a fresh, high-stakes female lead. Jane had potential to be the most vulnerable yet capable final girl in years. Instead, she feels like a checklist. Strong woman plus pregnancy equals tension. One specific scene really highlights how poorly the movie handles Jane's pregnancy and emotional depth. At one point, the satanic slasher catches up to Jane, beats her badly in a brutal, extended sequence, and then throws her out a second-story window. She crashes hard onto the ground below. Any realistic person, let alone a pregnant woman, would be in critical condition after that kind of fall and beating. The audience is left expecting serious consequences. Miscarriage fears, physical trauma, hospital scenes, or at least some raw emotional breakdown from Georgina Campbell's character. Instead, the movie immediately cuts to Jane back in her car, continuing the chase like nothing major happened. There's zero emotional touch, no moment of vulnerability, no processing of the trauma, and no acknowledgement of how this affects her pregnancy or her mental state. It completely breaks immersion and feels totally unjustified. The pregnancy is used purely as a cheap tension device in the marketing and early scenes, but the film never actually treats it with any real weight or consequences. This makes Jane feel even more one-dimensional and robs the audience of any genuine connection to her pain. It's one of the movie's biggest missed opportunities and a clear example of lazy writing. Classics like Silence of the Lambs or even Halloween respected their protagonist's vulnerabilities far better. Norman Bates, childhood trauma, and split personality. Michael Myers, pure, unknowable evil. John Doe in Say 7 and twisted moral philosophy delivered with chilling calm. Hannibal Lecter, sophisticated, intellectual monster. Another massive plot hole that makes the whole movie feel strangely chill and unrealistic is the complete lack of urgency or proper police response. There's supposedly a satanic slasher on the loose, yet according to the story there is no one murdered. Wait, actually it's 16 victims, but the FBI shows zero rush to investigate. The behavior is bizarre. Only this one woman's husband gets murdered, while everything else in the world seems perfectly good with no real crime wave. No serious crime scenes are properly processed. No police capture any useful pictures or collect meaningful data from the scenes, and the whole investigation feels as chill as a church picnic on a Sunday with a saint dead. Even a massive oil tanker accident on the highway is treated with the same laid-back energy as the rest of the movie. The film itself matches that vibe. Everything moves at this oddly calm, almost relaxed pace that completely kills any sense of dread or stakes, making the entire cross-country revenge chase feel more like a casual road trip than a terrifying hunt for a brutal killer. This lazy, chill approach to the police response is one of the movie's biggest failures. It completely undermines the tension and turns what should have been a high-stakes thriller into something that feels unintentionally relaxed and disconnected from reality. The satanic slasher is all surface. He checks into hotels under creepy aliases, drives a massive black vehicle across highways, and leaves satanic symbols everywhere. His big plan? Nuclear meltdown to open Hell's Gates. It's 1980s satanic panic dialed to 11 with zero modern psychological insight. James Preston Rogers is huge and imposing, but that post-production ADR voice? Reviewers called it Darth Vader meets Venom meets cartoon villain. It's so over the top, it becomes hilarious instead of scary. Classics destroy this one. John Doe still gives me chills 30 years later. The satanic slasher feels like a parody. Look, Psycho Killer had the DNA of a classic. Andrew Kevin Walker knows killers better than almost anyone. A pregnant vigilante chasing a satanic brute across America with a nuclear plant climax? That's bold, but it suffers from an identity crisis, trying to be, say, Seven and meets Grindhouse and landing somewhere in B-tier slasher territory. The cartoonish voice, rushed script, one-dimensional characters, cheap effects, and that unjustified window scene killed the tension. Georgina Campbell and James Preston Rogers deserve better. Malcolm McDowell's small role as the satanic cult leader is fun but underused. If you love old-school slashers, skip this and rewatch Halloween or Say 7N. If you're curious about what happens when a Say 7N writer tries extreme gore, it's streaming soon. Worth a rental for the campy third act alone. What do you think? Does Psycho Killer deserve the hate? But did you love the chaos? Drop your ranking of the best Psycho Killer movies in the comments. And tell me if that window scene bothered you as much as it did me. Smash like if you want more deep dive comparisons. Subscribe for weekly horror breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there, and watch your back on the highway.